Hi, everybody. I'm Christina McShine de Jiménez. I go by CJ, and I am part of Cohort 7 from June 2021 of Idle Courses Academy. I have my background in education. I taught middle and high school for 7 years, 4 of which I taught abroad in Latin America. And then I came back last year and decided to transition my career into something else. I wasn't sure what that was just yet. So I taught. I taught last year. I didn't like it. And so I looked at IT and I went and I did a Scrum Master certification first in January of this year. And then I realized that you can't actually get a job as a Scrum Master with just a Scrum Master certification and never having been on a Scrum team before. So I just kept kind of looking and clicking around and trying to see what it was that I wanted to do, where my skills were transferable at. I looked into project management. That's still actually a goal of mine, especially now that I know I can do instructional design project management. And I just kind of fell into ID, actually. I don't even know what I clicked on. I can't remember what it was. But the words instructional design came on the screen. And I was like, what's that? I've never heard of it before. So then I just kept clicking and Googling and investigating. And then I joined a whole bunch of Facebook groups around it to learn more. And one of those groups happened to be IDLE's Facebook group. So when I joined, it was around the time of the 5-day challenge. And I did the challenge and I really liked it. And I was like, okay, this is something that really interests me and I want to do. And I think I'll learn more from here than what I was learning in the masters. So when I found out about ID, I immediately thought, oh, I have to go and get a second master's. And so I signed up for another one from my alma mater. It would have been a master's of science in instructional design and technology. The first class was great. I learned all the theory, or relearned some theory and learned a little bit more, because in education, a lot of it is very transferable there. But then I realized that I wasn't learning any of like the tools that I needed to be successful, the things that I was seeing pop up on all of the job applications. I wasn't learning any of that, like Storyline and Camtasia and things like that. And I didn't see anywhere in my program where I was actually going to be learning these things. So I started thinking, like, maybe I don't really need a master's. And then that kept being confirmed by people who are actually in the industry who have made it. And I've been following them on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and really trying to absorb what they have to say. And a lot of them confirm that you don't really need a master's to do this program, but you do need to learn some things. And you do get that from IDLE. And so that's why I decided to join IDLE Courses Academy. And through there, I was able to land 2 jobs in corporate ID, both of which I'm loving right now. And so that's just a little bit of my story. So there's a couple of ways that you can get feedback in IDLE Courses Academy. You can get feedback from your peers, those who are going through the cohort with you, and those who have been in previous cohorts and are still active in the academy, because it's forever, right? You're always learning in there. There's no real end to IDLE courses. So you can always get feedback from anybody who's in there. You can post to like the active cohort community. You can ask your mentor or mentors if you decide to follow more than one. It's good to stick with at least one person throughout the active cohort session, or you can do more than one and you can get different perspectives that way. I followed like almost all of them actually, but you can get feedback from them. It's more than just tuning in and listening to them talk for an hour. It's engaging. So it's a two-way conversation. You can ask them questions. They'll answer questions. Sometimes you can volunteer to put up your asset during one of the sessions and see what they have to say about it and get feedback right there and from those who are in the Zoom call with you. So that's 2 ways. And then the third way is from the Academy coaches. And so when you do this one, there's like a little form that you fill out that just kind of goes over like, what is it that you're doing? What specifically do you want feedback on? And basically, what is the goal of your asset, right? And so you fill out that form, you submit it, you attach your asset to it, and then they provide you like a little video clip, comes straight to your email, that just tells you, hey, this is what you did really well, and this is where you can improve. And so you make those changes, and then you submit all over again and see what was good. Did you do it right? What do you still need help on? And so it's just continuous. It's always continuous improvement, right? So let me actually take a step back and explain like the structure of groups inside of the academy. So inside the academy, under groups, you have a couple different ones that can be joined. So during the active sessions, there's the active cohort session group, right? And there, everybody who's inside of the cohort and some who are rejoining the new cohorts can post. And so I used to post for feedback in there. I use that a lot. And you can actually tag mentors inside of those posts that you do. So I would tag my mentors in my posts so that they can see it and I can get feedback from them. And I'll tag multiple mentors actually. I also was inside of one of the groups called Teachers in Idle, right? Because I was transitioning from teaching into instructional design. And so there are some things that are unique to us. So we have a group in there, and I would post in there to get feedback. As an alumni, I post inside the alumni group. We formed like accountability groups that can be hosted on the Mighty Networks platform. I would post in there. I formed an accountability group on WhatsApp. I'd post in there. I didn't really post on Facebook too much. I would ask, like if I was in a Facebook group, I asked first if I could post for feedback in there. And I usually get like 1 or 2 replies, and it would be privately done via like a message. It's more so better to just post in the academy than to go to Facebook. What else did I do? I would volunteer my assets to the hot seat during, or sorry, not the hot seat, but Dare to Share. That's it. Dare to Share. I would do that, and I would get feedback during the mentor sessions that way. I would submit everything to the coaches, and I would get feedback that way. And then, those emails, once I got the feedback via video, we would discuss it more via email if it was necessary. And if it wasn't, I'll just apply those changes and then repost it again and see what I would get. So I took advantage of every opportunity, every kind of way to get the feedback that I needed. So what kind of things did I submit? What kind of things did I not submit? I submitted infographics, I submitted PowerPoints, I submitted Genialese, and I would make slide decks in those. I've submitted Rise courses before. I've submitted design documents. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything. I've submitted everything, like anything and everything that I could think of that I worked on that I needed help with. I've done it. I've done forms before. I did a media release form. But I've submitted all kinds of stuff. And for them, I would look for like, is the content right? And is the design right? And so I would just ask those and be very specific with like the questions that you ask. And I think that's really important. Like when you submit something for feedback, whether it's for your peers, the mentors, or the coaches, always be very specific with your questions. And so I kind of learned through the academy, like if I post something and I just say, okay, any feedback, that, it would just kind of be like everywhere or nowhere. And it wouldn't be what I was actually looking for. If you give a little bit of context to what it is you're creating and why you're creating it and who it's for, that also helps kind of guide that conversation. And then be specific with your question, like, hi, just in this moment, I'm looking for grammatical errors. Like, I just want a second set of eyes on this. or this time I'm posting the same asset, but this time I'm looking for flow, I'm looking for visuals, very specific, and that way people know what to provide feedback on, and you can get the kind of feedback that you need in that moment. So I got all kinds of feedback, and you have to be really open to it. Some people will give you a nice positive before letting you know where you can improve, and some people are just really short with it, and you have to really just be open to receiving the feedback that you're getting in any way that you get it, and not take anything personally. Remember that you're a professional and you are trying to move into a new professional arena, whether you're coming from teaching or you're coming from tech or wherever you're coming from. You're still a professional, and you have to be able to accept the feedback that you're getting in any form that it comes in, whether it's nice or not nice. Most of the time, though, it is nice. People are nice in the academy, but you still have to be able to listen to what they're saying and apply those changes to the work that you're making, or doing, I should say. So the feedback that I got in the academy helped me a lot, and it actually brought a lot of awareness to where my skills are, right? So one of the things was, or not even just where my skills were, but just me personally. I realized that sometimes I could be a very defensive person. And I think when we are creative and we're doing something, we all tend to be a little bit defensive of our work. I mean, we just spend hours doing something, especially if it's new to us. So we spend even more hours than maybe what the average or somebody who's seasoned in this field spends on the same thing, right? So we could be a little defensive sometimes. So I learned that about myself. And then I had to realize that I can't be that way if I'm going to be successful, not just in Idol, but in this industry, and really in any industry. You have to really just be kind of open to what you get with the feedback that you're getting. So that's a lesson that I learned. And I think that's just a professional and a personal win for me. Another thing that I learned was I need to not be so color happy when it comes to my designs, because I really love colors and textures, and sometimes that's a lot. That is just too much to see on the screen. And so a lot of the feedback that I got in some of my earlier work was just scale it back. Just pick 1 or 2 colors to work with, or 3 max to kind of work with as your color palette, and leave it at that. And so that's definitely helped with my visual design. Same thing when it comes to font choices and knowing what kind of fonts are easier on the eyes, easier to read, what kind of emotions those fonts evoke, right? And where to use those and when not to use those. Same thing with colors, right? You may be really fond of the color red, but that might not be a color that you want to use for everything. So kind of knowing when to use certain colors and for certain things. What else did I get? I remember in particular, there was a slide deck that I originally did in PowerPoint. And so one of my favorite colors is black. And so I tend to go there as my base for everything. If the page is the color white, I'm turning it black. If whatever is a light color, I'm turning it black, right? And so I had to realize that could be really harsh sometimes to look at. And, you don't need to put it that way all the times. And sometimes the way that I would edit pictures or take the picture or screenshot, it would just be wrong. It wouldn't be the same size for what I needed to do inside of whatever I was creating. And so I had to be open to hear that feedback and then apply it and do things differently. So there was that. What else? So apart from learning how you can improve whatever asset it is that you're working on, I think one of the greatest benefits of feedback is learning how you can improve as a professional and as a person, right? Like those things about our personality that we don't tend to see in ourselves when we look in the mirror, but other people can see, and bring that to our attention and help us improve how we communicate with people, how we perceive things, and how we, what's the word I'm looking for? How we react to those perceptions that we have, or move forward through the feedback that we receive. So those are some of the biggest benefits, I think, to me about receiving feedback in the academy.